Hello everybody, Johnston, CornNation. It's time for a tree video. And this is a calm, relaxed response to all the comments and people on social media, the YouTube channel, the websites, Twitter, etc. after the debacle, the loss to Minnesota. And I thought I'd respond to a lot of you and just kind of pull it all together. I have notes. Now, I want to bring up, previous to this game, you know, I did a video, the preview, Minnesota preview video, where I said I gave us a 30% chance of winning the game. And I think everybody's expectations before the Minnesota game, not everybody, but most people, most Nebraska fans, was for Nebraska to go 6-6 and get to a bowl game. And that's certainly still in sight for this season, unless you're a complete doom and gloomer. But, you know, for the rest of us, it's still in sight. There's 11 games left, out of which to get 6 wins. And when I was at the Minnesota game, I was surprised. You know, when we took the 7-3 lead there, beginning of the second half, I was surprised that we maintained that lead as long as we did. To be honest with you, I thought, wow, Minnesota is not really that good. And their quarterback, Ethan K., he didn't really play that well, or we got to him. But he didn't complete passes. He looked a little jittery. Their whole team didn't play as well as I thought they would. I thought Minnesota would get a lead and maintain a lead and just end up beating us as we came back, tried to do a comeback at the end and get it within one score, because one score losses is what we do right now. I think the biggest comment that bothered me from a lot of people, not necessarily here on YouTube, but in Twitter or everywhere else, was this is just like Scott Frost. In other words, this is just like a Scott Frost team. And I'm going to tell you right now, 2/3 of this team was nothing like a Scott Frost team. 2/3 of this team was nothing we've seen in the past 4 or 5 years at minimum. Number one, the defense was exceptional. I think they held Minnesota to 250 yards total offense, somewhere in there. They held their rushing total way down. And you know, they played aggressively. They swarmed to the ball. They played like they wanted to kill the quarterback. They got a better pass rush than I thought they would. And they did an excellent job. Did they give up some plays? Yes, but you're going to give up some plays. And let's face it, the scoring touchdown, you know, the tying touchdown for Minnesota, that was an amazing play by their wide receiver, and that kind of stuff happens. And I realize you can get upset at it, but the other team has, you know, they have guys on scholarship, they have playmakers, and I think we held their playmakers pretty much to a minimum with the defense. And we have not seen, I don't think, that aggressive or that confident of a defense in the last 4 to 5 years. And the second thing was, the other one part of the 1/3 of the 2/3 was special teams. Special teams played a huge factor in that game, with Ramir Johnson's really, really good, fun kick return, you know, and field goals. And we didn't see that at all in the last 4 or 5 years. Special teams was just something that was a oversight, or nobody cared about it. You know, I mean, special teams cost us a fair number of games in the last 4 or 5 years. And in this game, special teams almost won us that game. So 2/3 of this team was nothing like we'd seen under Scott Frost. Now, if you want to go, it's just like Scott Frost, they got a lead and then they threw it away in the end. Yeah, that is true, and it's unfortunate. But you've been doing this now for 4 or 5 years, and I guess I'm astonished at how people thought it was just going to go away in one game. I mean, it's year one, the first game. You don't just get rid of everything that you've been doing. You know, the key here, and Trev Albert said this, is we want to develop. And, you know, Matt Rhule has said stuff about development. And development isn't something where you just have 9 months of practice or 9 months of weightlifting and suddenly you show up at your first game and it's all there. It's going to have to happen over time. The offense is, well, let's get to the offense. You know, they do need to learn how to win, but to learn how to win, you have to play games, and this is game one. Again, reiterating, I know, but it is game one. And let's get to the offense. I mean, the offense, you know, there were plenty of red flags about the offense. And I think a lot of people brought up the same thing that I did in my post-game reaction video, is why was Anthony Grant in the game with 5 minutes left when you said he had fumbling problems and he fumbled, and then Matt Rhule said Anthony Grant had executed that play that he was in better than anybody else in practice, which is, you know, shows he's paying attention to details. But again, in my Minnesota preview, I said the key word for the game is execution. Did they execute that well? I think the defense did. The special teams did. Offense, not so much. Offense always lags behind defense in terms of development, especially under a new coach and a new regime and a new scheme and all that kind of stuff. It just takes longer to get its shit together. That's how it works. So now, is that saying everything's going to be okay? No, there's obvious red flags there. You kind of looked at the play calling, but we can always do that. I mean, everybody does that to our offensive coordinators. And let's face it, when you're calling, let's say 60, 80 plays a game and you all have to make decisions 30 seconds apiece, it's pretty hard to get most of them right. Well, it's pretty hard to get all of them right. You're always going to have problems. But, I mean, Jeff Sims, is he going to be the turnover machine that he was before and the turnover machine that he was in Minnesota? Well, we're going to have to wait and see. Is he going to be the best running back we have? I hope not. There's still questions about why didn't Irvin get the ball more, especially in the beginning of the game. You know, why didn't Anthony Grant even get more? Why did Ramir Johnson have only one carry? There's a lot of questions about this. Where was Thomas Fidone? I mean, that guy's supposed to be a big playmaker. He didn't really show up. But again, we have 11 more games to go this season. So, you know, I knew that Nebraska fans would overreact to a loss because that's what we do. We go, you know, don't get too high or too low, and then we do those things. I do those things too, obviously. You've seen my past videos. But I didn't expect this level of overreaction. I mean, my God, it was like the world was ending. And I get it. You know, there was I saw a comment from somebody that said, well, this may be Matt Rhule's first game, but it's my 347th or something along those lines. And I thought, you know, this is what we do as humans, is we take our relationships that have failed and we carry them over into the next relationship, and just instead of just letting go of all that baggage. So if somebody hurts us here, like Scott Frost, and then we take it into the next one, we go, well, they won't hurt me again. And then we can't just let that go and say, this is going to be a whole fresh new thing. We have to carry it forward. Well, it's a fresh new thing. I know if you want to be upset and you want to scream about it, that's fine. But, you know, you need to go, shit baskets, and then let it go and move on to the next one. And if you're one of those Husker fans that, you know, commented, well, I'm not going to watch this team. Well, then I guess don't. I'm not saying that out of snarkiness or nastiness. I mean, if it causes you that much problems, then don't watch the team. It's okay. I don't believe in the whole we don't let them on the bandwagon thing. I think if you want to be a Nebraska fan, just, you know, bring some beer, bring some chips or something. I don't know. Something healthy. I mean, you know, the other big red flag I think from that game was we don't really have any wide receivers, kind of. You know, Marcus Washington is probably our biggest playmaker. Our wide receivers are going to have to work hard to get some separation between them and the defensive backs. That's probably, you know, the offense, we know this. It needs a lot of work. And hopefully it'll get worked on this week and it'll be that much better. Typically teams make a big jump from week 1 to week 2, and God help them, they better, because, you know, if they lose to Colorado, I'm thinking positive thoughts. Positive thoughts. Cleansing breath. Okay, the last thing I'm going to bring up is this, and it's kind of a discussion topic. Should Matt Rhule have blamed his predecessor? You know, because for the first year of Scott Frost, we heard about how Mike Riley destroyed the program. And we all bought into this. I mean, it was like eating candy. Yes, he did. He wasn't one of us. I don't know why they hired him, and he destroyed the program. Well, if Mike Riley destroyed the program, Scott Frost took it to even deeper depths than it was, but he augured that son of a bitch straight into the ground several hundred feet. And we all listened to, it's going to take time, and I have to build a culture. And I think he went 0-6 in his first season or something. He went 0, nobody's ever gone 0-6 as a Nebraska coach. But we didn't get all freaked out about it, because we all heard, that other guy did this, and it's going to take some time. Matt Rhule's come into this program, and he specifically has said, I'm not going to say anything nasty about my predecessors, which I think is a classy move. But here's the thing. Saying bad things about your predecessors and blaming them works for politicians. We all know this. And it works in management, in companies. I know this. I don't know if you know this, but it works very well sometimes. So maybe Matt Rhule should have just gone ahead and blamed his predecessor. I quite frankly think people who do that are classless and they're crappy leaders in the outcome of things. But that's the discussion point from this video. How would you feel if Matt Rhule would have just said, well, it's going to take some time because Scott Frost destroyed this program and it's going to take some time for me to build it back up. So those are my comments, I guess, out here in the woods on a beautiful fall day with the tree. And I'd like to hear your comments. Thank you for supporting me, and please subscribe. Consider getting a Cobby t-shirt from cobbycorn.com, and there you go. I think that's it for now. It's time to go home and watch football. TCU versus Colorado. And see what, Colorado, I mean, they're our next opponent. It's going to be interesting maybe. I don't know. I think we should just beat the shit out of them, but we'll go watch them against TCU and see what happens. You know what else I have to do today is I have to look for my next shaker of salt. Go Big Red. Thank you for your support.